And we are on. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel. Happy Thursday to you all. This is Trailer Trash Tim. I'm glad you joined me. I announced in the last video, I believe, what was happening with my second channel that I had to change. And I said then that I was going to migrate those videos over to this channel. Well, I didn't understand. You know, I'm not a geek. I'm not very technical. I did not understand what a massive undertaking it is to do such a thing. So I'm just going to keep going forward here on this channel. I'm just not going to mess with it. I changed the name of that channel to Tim's RV Travels. If you're interested, it's basically a personal channel. It's kind of like my own personal video library to keep up with my travels and what have you. So it's not really made for public consumption so much, although you're welcome to go there and check it out if you want to. Whenever I go camping or somewhere like that, I like to document my trip. So I put those videos up on that channel. So if you're interested, that's where they'll be. Otherwise, we're just going to go forward with the old Triple T channel. All right, I want to start today with Mike Pence. Mike Pence, of course, the former vice president who served under Donald Trump. I consider him a traitor. I consider him a turncoat. I consider him a member of the deep state. I consider him a neocon. I consider him completely out of touch with the American people, completely out of touch with the concepts of freedom and liberty. And as you know, we talked about this yesterday. Finally, Julian Assange was released from prison in the UK, and he pled guilty to one charge in I believe the Mariana Islands. And he was given time served as a sentence, and he was released. And as far as I understand now, he's back home in Australia, in his native land of Australia. But of course, this is something that rankled and got up the ire of the deep state, because they don't like people like Julian Assange. The deep state does not like people like Edward Snowden. The deep state, these firmly ensconced governmental bureaucrats and elected officials who enrich themselves at the expense of the taxpayers and the voters. They don't like people who waved the flag of freedom and liberty. They didn't like Gonzalo Lira. They stood by while he was martyred in Ukraine. They could have done something for him, and they didn't. They don't like the J6 prisoners. They don't like anybody who is opposed to their plans for the American people. And that includes Mike Pence. Just because somebody's got an R by their name means nothing, folks. And these are all people inside the Beltway, by the Potomac River. It does not matter what the letter is by their name. This is just one big exclusive club that we call the ruling class. And their motivation in life is to acquire power, and once they have it, to keep it at all costs. And while they're in power, of course, you know, people in Washington that are in elected office, there's really there's several ways to describe them, but I think I may like this way best. You know what these people are? They are inside traders. They are inside traders. That's exactly what they are. You tell me how somebody comes into office in Congress with modest wealth. They're not wealthy. They're not rich. They have modest wealth, modest means. And just a few short years later, they are multi-millionaires on a politician's salary. How does this happen? How does it happen that these people are allowed? How is it that these people are allowed to even be in the stock market? This should not be the case. I call them inside traders. That's what they are. They're deep state creatures. They are just swamp critters, and it is so hard to get rid of them. More on that in just a moment. But I want to stop here with Pence because, of course, Mike Pence makes my skin crawl. Mike Pence reminds me of a funeral director. He's with his pasty skin and his dark suits and his white hair. He just looks like he ought to be running a funeral home, doesn't he? Well, Mike Pence finally took to Twitter and weighed in on the Julian Assange situation. Let me see if I can pull this up. And this is what Pence said with regard to Julian Assange. He said, and I quote, you can read for yourself, Julian Assange endangered the lives of our troops in a time of war and should have been prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. The Biden administration's plea deal with Assange is a miscarriage of justice and dishonors the service and sacrifice of the men and women of our armed forces. Pander much, Mike, and their families. There should be no plea deals to avoid prison for anyone that endangers the security of our military or the national security of the United States ever. Well, you know what? Let's just read between the lines, folks, and let's understand what's going on here. Mike Pence is not concerned about the American people. He's not concerned about the troops. He just uses them, as a prop when it suits his means. Mike Pence isn't concerned about liberty. He's not concerned about the rights of the American people. He's not concerned about our ability to speak out as we see fit. He thinks we should all just keep our mouths shut and sit on our hands. What Julian Assange did is what's got Mike Pence so upset. Julian Assange exposed the inner workings of the deep state. That's what Julian Assange did, and that's why Mike Pence is so upset. Julian Assange, as well as Edward Snowden, exposed the fact that we are losing our Fourth Amendment rights. We are losing our rights to privacy because of the overreach of the surveillance state, which is the American government. And that's what's got Mike Pence so upset. We just can't have that. We can't have people exposing the deep state as being the creature that is at war with the very people that it is supposedly supposed to serve. Julian Assange did the American people a favor by exposing the inner workings of the deep state. Edward Snowden did the American people Edward Snowden is an American hero. He did the American people a favor by showing us what the government of the United States is doing to us. Gonzalo Lira did the same thing. And Mike Pence doesn't like that. And he doesn't like that because he is a deep state critter extraordinaire. He believes that government is paramount. Don't be fooled by the fact that this man has an R by his name. Donald Trump should have never selected Mike Pence as his running mate. Now, you kind of want to give Trump a pass because he came into office as a novice. And I've heard people in his defense say Trump didn't know who to appoint to all these various positions because he wasn't acquainted with all these people in Washington. Maybe he didn't know how bad the problem was, but I don't really give him a pass, folks. All Donald Trump had to do was get one person he knew he could count on, one person he knew he could rely on. He could have selected somebody like Rand Paul to be his chief of staff. Rand Paul could have helped Trump to select the right people for these all important positions, but instead he picked somebody like Mike Pence, and he lived to regret it. So Mike Pence, you could just step off. I don't have any use for you. Good riddance to you. I'm glad you're gone. Just go back to Indiana and go buy a funeral home to run. That's about where you need to be. All right, I want to talk for a minute about Vivek Ramaswamy. I talked yesterday about the vice presidential sweepstakes, and the latest I've heard is that the choice, a lot of people are saying that the choice has been whittled down to 3 and possibly 4 people. J.D. Vance, senator from Ohio, would be one. Marco Rubio, senator from Florida, is another. Former North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum is another. And then, of course, I reported to you how another reporter, and whose name escapes me all of a sudden. I should have written it down and I failed to do so. But this gentleman reported that he is hearing from well-placed sources that Trump has landed on Vivek Ramaswamy as his vice presidential selection. I hope and pray that is true. That is my pick. And I want to talk about Vivek for a minute, and I want to tell you why I am such a fanboy of Vivek Ramaswamy. Here is the reason why. Well, there's several reasons why, but I just want to give you one. Vivek Ramaswamy, when he was running for the Republican nomination, identified the root problem that we face in Washington, D.C., this absolute cesspool of swamp creatures. And Vivek Ramaswamy explained to us what really has to be done in Washington. And he said he was going to do this if he assumed the presidency. This is why I believe it is so important that Trump selects Vivek and then listens to him. Every 2 years in the United States, we have our federal election. Every 2 years, we send members of Congress, we elect members of Congress to go to Washington. And in the odd year, of course, there would be some senatorial elections. And then, of course, every 4 years, we select a president. And everybody's up for grabs in the House of Representatives every 4 years. They serve 2-year terms, of course. But we all kind of feel frustrated, it seems, because you work hard and you vote and you think you're sending some good people into Congress. You got some good guys who have R's by their name and they're saying all the right things. They're talking about balancing a budget. They're talking about reining in the size and scope of the federal government. And I realize it's long odds, even if they get into office. I mean, there's only so many Thomas Masseys around, right? So many Matt Gaetzes, so many Rand Pauls. And things never seem to change. Not only do they never seem to change, they seem to even get worse as we go along. Even when the Republicans control the House of Representatives and the Senate and the presidency, things seem to get no better. And the debt continues to snowball and skyrocket out of control. We stand now at $35 trillion in debt. Now, how can this be? Is it a matter of simply sending more Republicans to Washington in elected office? What would happen this November if it was an absolute landslide, and I hope that it is, and the Republicans take clear control of the House of Representatives, and the Republicans take control of the Senate, and Trump is placed back into the Oval Office, and the GOP controls all three branches of government? What do you think will happen? Fiscally, what do you believe will happen? Do you think that we'll somehow start whittling away at that incredible debt that we have? Let's face some facts, shall we? The fact of the matter is Donald Trump spent money like a drunken sailor. As a matter of fact, his financial maneuverings in Washington, his liberal, reckless financial policies were worse than his predecessors, and I'm talking about Lord Obama. Donald Trump showed no fiscal restraint whatsoever. Now, we did get some tax cuts, and for that, I applaud him. But it's the spending that we have, the out of control, outrageous, unhinged, unabated, uncontrollable spending that we have got to get a hold of. And Trump did not do that. He is not. I'm under no illusions. I never said Trump was a conservative. He never said he's conservative, as far as I know. Maybe he did. I don't know, but he isn't. Fiscally, certainly he is no conservative. But what would happen if that were the scenario that came true and the Republicans had a clear majority in all three branches of government? I'm not convinced all that much would change, folks. Because the problem is not so much who is elected to serve in Washington, as much as it is who are the bureaucrats, these unelected bureaucrats that are in Washington that we can't turn out of office by way of election. They get into their office in Washington and they never leave. Can I give you a prime example? Nobody ever voted on Anthony Fauci, little Lord Fauci. He wasn't an elected official. He was an appointed bureaucrat that hung in there like a piece of gum on the bottom of your shoe. Look at the carnage that is in his wake. Look at the absolute utter devastation he wreaked upon the American people. But he wasn't elected. He was a bureaucrat. And he is symbolic of Lord only knows how many bureaucrats make their home in Washington. You know where the richest neighborhoods in America are? They're in and around Washington, D.C., folks. Arlington and Fairfax and Alexandria and all these places around the Beltway. These are where the wealthiest Americans are. It's not in Beverly Hills. It's not in Martha's Vineyard. It's not in Miami and South Beach. It's not in New York City. It's in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. Where's all this money coming from? It's coming from all these people who enrich themselves in government service. This is where the bureaucrats reside. This is where the lobbyists reside, who work for the corporations that enrich our politicians and buy our politicians and tell them, we're going to line your coat pockets with all this cash, but you got to vote the way we tell you to vote. What Vivek said he would do as president is he would eliminate, I believe at one point he said 75% of the federal bureaucracy. That's when I got up in my chair and stood up and started applauding, and I said, this is my man. Because this is the problem. I don't deny the Nancy Pelosi's and the Charles Schumers of the world and the Mitch McConnells of the world and the Bidens of the world are a problem. I don't deny they are a problem. But, folks, it's the people you can't name. It's the people I can't name. It's the people that are behind the scenes that go to Washington and remain there for decades unelected, and you can't get rid of them. How much government do we actually need? How many bureaucrats do we actually need? How many lobbyists should there be? Why can't senators and congressional representatives simply go up to Washington and shut their doors and never entertain a lobbyist? Never entertain a bureaucrat and just do the work of the people? That never happens. Almost nobody is serving the people in Washington. And the only person I never even heard Rand Paul or Ron Paul say this, but I believe Ron Paul would have done something about it. But Vivek came out and said it when he's president. 75% of the bureaucracy he's going to get rid of by taking executive action. That's when I said, this is my man. This is why, if for no other reason, this is why I want Trump to select Vivek, so that he can put a bug in Trump's ear and let him know this is what needs to happen. You know, they are both businessmen. They're not idiots. They're both billionaires. Trump knows how to run a business. Vivek certainly knows how to run a business. And anybody who is in business, anybody who owns a business knows that one way to increase your bottom line is to reduce the fat, reduce the expense, reduce the expenditures that can't be justified. This is why I am a fan of Vivek Ramaswamy. So I hope that Trump picks him. All right, let me move on. I want to ask you a question. Can somebody answer me this question? Is the Disney Corporation racist? Stew on that one for just a minute. If you've listened to me for any amount of time, ladies and gentlemen, you know that one of the most overused, misapplied, worn out terms in the modern English vernacular is the word racism. I hate the word racism. And the reason I hate the word racism is because almost nobody knows what the heck the word even means. But we're so quick to call somebody a racist just because they disagree with us or just because they said something we don't like or whatever. Well, that person doesn't agree with me, therefore they must be a racist. Come on, man. Come on, man. But hey, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So I want to kind of turn things back around on the woke crowd. And Lord knows the Disney Corporation is part of the woke crowd. Disney, of course, owns of course, the Disney interest, the movie studios. They own ABC News. They own ESPN. I could go on and on about that. How many of you are familiar with James O'Keefe? James O'Keefe, formerly of Project Veritas. He's done so much good work in exposing so much government corruption. He's no longer with Veritas. He's out on his own now. But James O'Keefe has posted a wonderful little eye-opening video where an interview was done with a Disney executive. Now, I can't play the whole video for you. This thing is about 20 minutes long, but this is something you want to check out. But I do want to bring a portion of this video up on screen and share it with you if I can. This is James O'Keefe reporting on Twitter. He posts this along with the video, and he says this: Walt Disney's television director of production finance, Sohrab Dave Maker, reveals Disney won't hire anyone, quote, who's not white or not Jewish, unquote, for C-suite roles, confirming discriminatory hiring practices detailed in OMG's The Disney Tapes Part 1. Maker, who tracks diversity in annual reports, reveals that the reports, quote, tell us the diverse cast of members that are in there, unquote, and that he has witnessed, quote, the number count go up, unquote. Maker says Disney prioritizes LGBTQ stories for children, stating, quote, we insert diversity when it's not really organic to the story, unquote, admitting shows have flopped because the audience didn't connect to forced diversity. He calls Disney CEO Bob Iger corrupt, saying he just wants to stay in power. He proceeds to criticize Elon Musk, calling him a narcissist driven by attention, yet agrees with Elon's call for Iger's firing. Iger, of course, is the CEO of the Disney Corporation. But what's telling here, folks, is that Maker says that Disney won't hire anyone who's not white or not Jewish. Well, now, is that maybe perhaps a little bit racist on the part of Disney? And I was thinking about applying to Disney World to be maybe a mascot, you know, wear the Mickey Mouse costume or whatever. But I guess I need not apply, right? Because I just happen to be a little white boy from Alabama. I'm white and I'm a male and I'm not woke. So who's the racist? You tell me. Am I the racist? The woke crowd would say I'm a racist just by virtue of the fact that I'm a middle-aged white boy from Alabama. That automatically Lord, I'm probably in the Klan down here. We got a rally tonight at 7 o'clock. Not in this hot weather. No bonfires tonight. But you tell me who the racist is. If the Disney Corporation is not going to hire white people or Jewish people, who's the racist? Is it possible the woke crowd is the racist? I don't know. Think about it. All right, let me end on a little bit of a lighthearted note. Do you have any fun hobbies or any particular interests that maybe are a little quirky? I don't know. I've got one I want to share with you right now. One of my interests is this. I love, maybe it's because I'm 63 years old and I'm starting to show my age. I don't know. But I really love old black and white movies. Anybody like that? Anybody else love old black and white movies? I mean, if Humphrey Bogart is in it, I really love it. I love the old black and white movies. They're fun. You know, it's I like the old crime noirs, Noir, however you say that, noir. You know, one reason I love them is because they're not so gratuitous. They're not so graphic. There's not a lot of blood and gore. There's not so much tawdry behavior and terrible language. It's just from, of course, another era, the 40s and the 50s, more innocent times. But the thing I love about that, when a bad guy shoots somebody, you don't usually see blood. You just see the reaction to the shots. But I kind of like that because it kind of leaves more up to the viewer's imagination, It's not so graphic and it's not so, as I say, so gratuitous. And I just love them. I love old black and white movies. If Bogart's in it, I love it all the more. I love the movie Key West. I'm just wondering if anybody else out there is like me. You like the old black and whites? I love to watch black and white movies. And if you like to watch black and white movies, I have a tremendous resource for you. The great thing about watching old black and whites is you can find them for free. You don't have to spend any money. You can just go pop your popcorn. If you eat popcorn, I just have some jerky or something, I suppose, because I'm a carnivore. But I got a movie pick. I don't know if I'll do this regularly, movie pick of the day, movie pick of the week. I'm just going to give you a movie pick. But this is one I watched recently I want to share with you. Let me bring it up for you. This is a great movie. I think it's from 1953, and it's called Dangerous Crossing. Dangerous Crossing. It stars Gene Crane and Michael Rennie. Dangerous Crossing. It's a kind of a big murder mystery, and it all is shot on board a cruise ship back in the 1950s. So I recommend that one for you. You can find it on YouTube. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put down below this video a couple of links where you can find a couple of YouTube channels that have a lot of these old 1940, 1950 era movies in black and white for you to watch. I love them. I think you might like them as well. And if you do, when I discovered these channels, I said, oh, I'm in heaven. Endless black and white movies. I just love them. So there you have it. Hey, listen, give me your comments down below about what I talked about today. How do you feel about Vivek? How do you feel about Mike Pence? And what do you think about Disney? Are the real racist in the Magic Kingdom? Is that possible? How about a movie pick? You got a black and white for me to watch? I'd love to have your recommendation. Hey, give me a thumbs up for this video if you would. I'd appreciate that. If you would subscribe to the Triple T channel, if you have not, that would be fantastic. All the relevant links are down below. You can join me with Live Good. If you want to start your own business, join TripleT.com. It's down below. You can buy me a coffee if you find what I do of value. It's great having all of you with me today. Everybody go out there and have a great Thursday. This is Trailer Trash Tim, and I'll see you soon.